Welcome to this edition of Silver Sneakers Boom Muscle. I'm continuing my journey into improving for powerlifting. Ran across a couple of internet articles by experts describing techniques to improve muscle and increase muscle fibers. It's hard to get access to the actual articles without subscribing to all the different journals these come from. So you often have to rely on people who do have that access summarizing the articles and the findings. First was repetitions to increase muscle fibers. And one study found that actually lifting a lighter weight for more repetitions to close to muscle failure is more productive for muscle fibers versus heavy lifts and fewer repetitions. The second one had to do with a similar idea of how to stimulate muscle hypertrophy. Now, going along with sort of the common wisdom from years of people bodybuilding, powerlifting, and weightlifting, that they find that they get more muscle hypertrophy with lighter weights for more repetitions, and they improve strength with heavier weights with fewer repetitions. So the major problem I find in these articles is they don't really talk about the age of the subjects that they're studying. And I think it makes a big difference when you're in your senior years and you're fighting this muscle breakdown called sarcopenia, which isn't occurring in younger people, at least until they're in their sort of 30s, getting close to middle age. So I think most of these studies are probably done on this younger cohort, so we don't really know. As I've said in previous videos, I like to exercise in all 3 repetition ranges, with the understanding that there's 3 different muscle types, ones that are more favorable for explosive power. That's these ones that are increased strength and explosiveness with heavy weights, low repetitions. The sort of intermediate group, which is your maybe 8 to 15 or so repetitions towards muscle failure. And then there's the more aerobic muscle fibers, which are your long endurance and the ones that you can exercise for a huge number of repetitions without reaching muscle failure. To me, I find those to be kind of boring, so I have a tendency to push them hard enough so that I can be exhausted at about 30 seconds or so, 30, 45 seconds, and then get a little rest and then come back. As far as overall fitness, you should also work on cardiovascular fitness in all of the different zones, the zone 2, 3, 4, and 5. Zone 5 is your very high energy, fast cardiovascular that you can only sustain for 20, 30 seconds or so, like a very fast interval. Zone 2 is where you can exercise for a long period of time and still maintain a conversation. And zone 3 is where your breath starts to get shorter and it's harder to speak in more than a few words. Zone 4, again, is above that to where you really can't talk in more than a word at most. And zone 5 is where you really can't talk. So to continue with our exercise today, I'm going to do a warm-up and then continue to work on exercises to maximize squatting. I found that I'm making good progress in bench press and deadlift, but that the squat is still a huge challenge for me. I think partly that's because I lack flexibility in my ankles, my knees, my hips, and my shoulders. My spine's pretty solid, it doesn't bend much, so that's a benefit. So let's get started. As I've said before, for my warm-up, I walk around the fitness facility, pick up loose weights, put them back where they belong, clean the restrooms, do a number of different things going on for about 10 or 15 minutes. So by this time I've already started to get warmed up, just doing some arm circles, palms down, reverse, palms up, forward, palms up backwards, some trunk twists. Old-fashioned exercise called a windmill, where you rotate your arm, outside arm towards your opposite foot. You want to focus on keeping your back neutral, so you're not overarching. Let's do some marches. Balance is a critically important factor for seniors. So let's hold one foot up. We can do some ankle circles, working on warming up our ankle. You can always tap down, engaging your core, trying to maintain that balance. Opposite direction. And just some partial squat knee bends, starting to warm up our quads and our posterior. You can put your feet out wider, keep your knees over your feet. You're going to do a partial Cossack lunge squat. You want to monitor your exertion level with this workout. Since Silver Sneakers Boom Muscle can become a high intensity workout, it's okay to get into that 7, 8, 9 range. You can always pause the tape, take a little break to recover. Okay, shake it out. We want to make sure you have a towel and a source of water nearby. We'll get on with our workout. To start, I'm going to do some wall squats, again where I face a wall, try and get my toes close to the wall, and just do a deep knee bend, trying to stay as close to the wall as I can. Working on posture and warming up. Even in these warm-ups, you want to concentrate on maintaining a tight core and contracting all your muscles to get used to this when you start lifting heavier weights. For a warm-up, I also like to take a wooden pole, which I find less irritating, to help me loosen up my shoulders and work again on proper form for a deep squat. Trying to roll this down so it's below my neck and resting on my upper scapula, trapezius muscles, etc. To get used to lifting heavier weights, I've switched to this bar, which is designed for people like me with very stiff shoulders. It's got a nice pad, and you hold it with your arms in front of your body. The form is the same, trying to keep my body upright without rounding my back or leaning forward, and powering up from that deep position. My goal is to use this bar and other adjunct exercises to get me strong enough, but that I will continue to use the straight bar behind my neck at least twice a week, working on the true squat for at least the following month, and then maybe just limit it to that. Wanted to let you know that I take a lot of my techniques and plans for exercise from this book by Richard Schuler, Powerlifting Over 50, which I think has a lot of good information for we seniors if we're engaging in this activity. A bar like this, called a safety squat bar, different brands have different weights, generally heavier than a straight Olympic bar. If you look at the end, sometimes you'll see a weight stamp. This one doesn't seem to have it anywhere, so I took it back to the scale and weighed it. It comes in at 65 pounds. I've seen some advertised as light as 50 pounds, some up to 70. So if you want to get accurate measurements of what you're actually lifting, you might want to take the bar down and find an accurate scale to get that measurement. So that last set of squats finished my strengthening drills for this session. Next I'm going to move on to conditioning. So this combines a number of exercises trying to get all the different muscle groups, mostly full body exercises or close to that, and done at a fairly rapid pace with minimal rest. So if you keep your heart rate elevated, this actually counts for all of the action intervals in a typical Silver Sneakers Boom muscle workout. I'm going to start with kettlebell swing. This is exercising the posterior chain, the hips, in particular a little bit of quads, a little bit of shoulders. Between the legs and up. You don't need to go above horizontal with your arms. I'm going to aim for anywhere between 10 and 20 repetitions, or about 30 seconds of exercise. Moving on with the same kettlebell, do a one-arm row, put my feet opposed in a partial squat, lean forward, You can rest your hand on your knee or not. Just row, trying to keep your back engaged, tightening your core. Again, aiming for 10 to 20 repetitions. And switch legs, switch arms. And keep your spine neutral. Avoid rounding forward, which can put undue strain on your lower back. Moving on to the TRX or some other device, I'm going to do a face pull, which is a good exercise for the rear delt and the upper back. So thinking about the fundamental movements that we've exercised, we've done basically your squat, we've done your pulls, we've got rotation, press, like opening a door, and one-legged, one-sided moves as well. So for rotation, I'm taking a band, and just rotating my upper body. You want to think about the muscles working in your core. And the other side. To accommodate our pressing movement, back to my TRX, basically a chest press. The instability of the TRX forces you to engage more of your stabilizing muscles as well as your prime movers. Change the angle on this. This is more of an incline press position. Or down closer to your waist, which more of a decline. Each of those uses slightly different muscles of the chest and shoulders. And then for one leg movement, we can do that straight leg, one leg deadlift, grabbing a weight. I like to put the weight on the same side as my supporting leg. Lift the other leg behind me. Trying to maintain balance. You can always have the support close by if you need to touch down. Or sort of lose your balance and step out. And switch to the other side. I'm going to finish up with some stretching of my shoulders and my legs. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water. Enjoy the weather as it starts to warm up. Hope to see you next time as we work on improving our strength, balance, flexibility, mobility, and enthusiasm and enjoyment of life.